Okay, welcome everybody. This particular meeting is going to be about finding an agent and what to do when you do find an agent. So uh, I'm going to share with you some of my personal experiences. I've had two different agents, and things didn't work out with either one of them, and I'm learning that that does happen. So I'm going to share my screen and then jump right in because I want to leave some time at the end. CJ Berry is going to join us. She has part of the presentation at the end that she's going to be doing. And after that, I want to leave a little bit of time for discussion and questions if you have any. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, give me a second here. Good deal. All right. And this is the presentation I put together for tonight. Um, I call it I'm getting an agent because in order to get an agent, you have to have that kind of determination. So this weekend, my family went up to the mall, and while we were there, I saw this guy, um, David Putnam. He's an author, and these are some of his books. And he was doing a book signing at Barnes and Noble. And so I went over to his table, and when it was my turn, I just had a good conversation with him. He is only traditionally published. You can see he's written a lot of books. He has had 6 different agents. And like I said, he prefers to be traditionally published. He meets his agents at conferences. So in that time that I had with him, this is what I gleaned. Firstly, even when you are published by a traditional publisher, you do all the work. He is doing book signings, sitting at a table in the middle of Barnes and Noble, hoping people will come and buy his books. Pleasant guy, a nice smile, just like this, was more than willing to talk with me. I'm actually hoping to have him come and be a speaker for us. I think he would do a terrific job. But the reality is, it's not going to be that much different than self-publishing when it comes to promoting your work. You still have to do the work. They're not going to do it for you. Second thing I learned from him, our agents tend to be temporary. He's had 6. I've had 2. When you, my hope would be that we could get into a relationship with an agent that would be a lifelong relationship or a career-long relationship where the agent knew you and you knew them and they knew what you produced and they were for you and they were guiding you and they were leading you. That is probably not going to happen. It sounds to me like it's kind of rare for it to be that way. It's more likely that you'll get an agent for one particular book and then um, they'll move on or you'll move on. There's all kinds of things that happen with agents. Number third, or number three, number three, the third thing I learned was that in order to get an agent, it's very helpful if you can be face to face with agents. And so Mr. Putnam, he gets his agents at conferences. And he does that so that he can meet with them face to face and pitch his books right to them. And I mentioned conferences, and the way he does it is in a conference, a writing conference, you can schedule time to sit with an agent, but it's kind of like speed dating where you get your 5 minutes and you rush in and you do your pitch and you talk to the agent and then you leave and another person comes and sits in your chair. There really isn't a lot of time for discussion. What Mr. Putnam does is he goes to a conference and he waits around at different places, like at the lunchroom or whatever, and in the in-between times, he might find an agent that he really likes and wants to talk to. He'll try to get in line with them at the lunch line and chat with them and talk them up there and build bridges and have a relationship. He gets more time and it's less stress, and that's how he's gotten his agents in the past. So three things I feel are important in terms of getting an agent. Your first steps. Number one is you got to be willing to do the research. If you wish to be traditionally published and you want to have an agent, you have to do the research and find the right agent. You got to find somebody who represents your genre, somebody who you trust and believe in. It's good to know what other authors they've represented and what books they've represented and whether those books line up with your book. So it's important to do the research, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to do the research. Secondly, it's important to create. It's important to have a product already in place. I am currently looking for representation for a magazine article that I've written and 2 books that I've written. And I'm sending out queries to different agents for all of those. So you got to have something to sell. I think it goes a long way to be able to say, I've written a book about. That's a lot better than saying, I want to write a book about. You see, the first one is already a done deal. You have a product. The second one is a dream and a hope, and an agent's probably not going to want to represent that. And the third thing is use all your skills of connection. Be uh, be able to communicate well with your agent. Keep, keep tabs with them. Be pleasant. In the different experiences I've had with agents, some of them that even have rejected me, I always try to be positive and let them know that I appreciate their time and any wisdom they have to share. Just be the kind of person that somebody's going to say, hey, I do want to represent that person. They're pleasant to be with. So those are my 3 things on that. And then contacting agencies. Number one, always respond quickly. I have a couple of queries out right now, and when I hear back from an agency, I respond as soon as I see it. So try to respond quickly. Don't wait. Don't let it, that particular email fall down in your list and respond a week later. I try to let people know immediately how I feel and what's going on. I had this article that I'm trying to get published, this magazine article. I sent it to a magazine that I've published in a couple of other times, and they rejected it. And I wrote them back immediately and thanked them so much for letting me know. And they were very encouraging. They said, please keep us in mind in the future. It was a very pleasant back and forth. So respond quickly to any communication you have with an agent or with an agency. Also, again, be positive. Be positive. Don't talk yourself down. Don't talk your work down. Don't complain. Keep everything light and positive. And lastly, listen. Listen to what your agents or the agency or the publisher, listen for what they want. Read between the lines. Try to understand exactly what they're asking you for, and that will give you a much better relationship with the agency. Okay. Couple of places where you can publish, and I want to promote this because I don't think we think about this very often. Magazine and newspaper submissions. If you think about it, there are hundreds of magazines. And now with the internet, there's a lot of e-magazines, and they're all looking for content. So this is a place where you can get published. So think about possibly putting together some articles or some small pieces that you can send in to different magazines, especially magazines that you already subscribe to that you know very well. If you have something to share, this is a good place to get published, and then it looks good on your resume. You know, when you're doing your bio, you can say, "Oh yeah, I was published in," and magazines count. You're a published author. Um, Also check submission requirements. This, I think, is the number one problem we have as authors is we don't check carefully the submission requirements. And we need to. We need to make sure that we are crossing every T, dotting every I. Read over and over and over again. Make sure you're giving the either the magazine or the publisher or the agent, you're giving them exactly what they're looking for. Don't leave anything out. Make sure you follow their directions. If they have a word count, make sure you're within the word count. You know, do what they're asking for. If they're asking you for 2 chapters, send them 2 chapters. Don't send them 3, don't send them 1. It makes a difference. Um, these are just a couple of my magazine articles that I've had published, and I'm happy with them. I'm glad that they were published. I like the way they turned out. And again, it's something I can go back and say I'm published in this magazine. This was an article that I wrote for the Pulse, and the Pulse is a good place for us to get published. We have several people, including Paul, uh, who have been published in the Pulse. John Garner gets published in the Pulse all the time. Debbie Walker's been published in the Pulse. Ann Miner used to get published in the Pulse on a regular basis. They're very friendly to us at the Pulse. And so if you have something of local color, something that you want to submit, the Pulse is a good place to start. And make sure it's something you're writing about, something you care about. Because what I find is that if you care about what you're writing about, that comes through. People feel that. Your readers will know the difference. Okay, conferences. So what I did was I looked at different conferences that go on here locally in California. I went to a conference once in North Carolina, um, a writing conference, and it was pretty difficult as far as getting there and being able to connect and do the things. So I'm looking for myself to stay in California and go to conferences here. So here are some of the conferences that are in California. There's the Southern California Writing Conference, and these are the dates. Uh, it is January next year. It's $450 to go. So if you were going to go, you might want to start putting away money for it. It's 3 days at the Crown Plaza in San Diego. It's a big conference. There's a lot of things that go on at this conference. And then there is the Writing Conference of Los Angeles, and that one is next week. It's $200 and it's at the LAX Hilton. Then there is the um, California Online Writing Workshop. And as soon as I saw this one, I thought, oh, this one will not allow you to do the face-to-face work with agents. So I'm not too excited about this one. Um, but again, I've never done this one, so I don't know. They might have you do Zoom with agents, and that would be good. But that is another one to look into, and that's this coming June, June 12th through 13th, and the website's there. So what I thought about doing is if everybody on the Zoom, when I get done with the presentation, if you'll go into the chat and put in your email, I will send you my presentation so that you'll have the slide and you won't have to write everything down. Now, I did find a couple more. There's one at UC Riverside. It's the UC Riverside Writers Week Festival. Again, I've never been to this one. It is free and it's next week. So my plan is to go down on Thursday next week and check it out. It starts at 11 o'clock. It's on the UC Riverside campus. It features poets and authors. Again, I don't know what kind of opportunities there would be. I don't know if any agents are going to be there. But it is a writing event here, and it's pretty local. UC Riverside is not that far. And then there's this other one that's mostly a young adult writers retreat. It is in May, but it's full. They fill up pretty quickly. So that would be something to look at possibly for next year if you write children's literature. So again, at a conference, you want to have face-to-face meetings with agents. That's what you're looking for out of the experience. Okay. When I first started writing about 30 years ago, the way you would find an agent is you would use what are called the market guides. This is how I found my agent. The market guide tells you about publishers, agents, all kinds of different aspects of writing. They're very helpful. And this one is the Christian Writer's Guide, and this one is just the regular Writer's Guide. Now, they've done something new, which is absolutely fabulous. This Christian Writer's Guide, you'll notice it's written by Steve Lobb. I tried to get Steve Lobb to be my agent. One of the conferences I went to, I followed him around. I talked to him. I did pitch to him actually, and tried to get him to take me on as a client, but he rejected it. And it was pretty funny because when the conference was over, when I went to the airport, I saw him at the airport, but he was talking to this lady, and she was one of the other presenters from the conference. Well, we get on the plane, and we had assigned seats. Well, my seat was right next to his, and I felt bad. I told the woman who was sitting two rows behind us. I said, I saw you talking to Steve. If you want to, I'm more than happy to switch places with you and let you sit next to him. And she said, no, I want the window seat. So, so I ended up sitting next to this guy that I wanted to be my agent, and we talked for 3 hours, but he still did not want to be my agent, which is fine. Um, the problem with these books is that as soon as they're published, they're out of date. All kinds of things are happening the in the publishing world in real time. And as soon as one of these books gets published, an agency might go out of business, an agent might die, new agencies spring up. They're never up to date until now. Because now, like for the Christian market, what Mr. Lobb has done is he has created an online version. And the online version of the Christian writers market allows you to do everything you would do in the book, and it's even easier because it's searchable. As you can see here, you search for different genres, agents, things like that. You can create filters which allow you to narrow down what you're looking at, and it's up to date in real time. And the subscription for it is less expensive than buying the book. So I subscribe to this. It's really helpful. Now, for the non-Christian market, you have something called Query Tracker. Query Tracker is the same kind of thing. It's where you can submit to agents and get your work known. And there are hundreds of agents on this in all kinds of different genres. You create an account and then you start working it. And I'm going to take you through a few of the pages that are from Query Tracker. It's nice because it tells you what country this person is in. You may not want an agent in England. Um, I would want an agent, obviously, from the United States myself. But you get to see where the agent resides. It also lets you create filters and then save them so that every time you come back, your filters are in place for how you're screening your agents. And it tells you the status. Say you've done some submissions. It gives you an icon that tells you, like this really sad one, this red-faced one, that's a rejection. So you can take from a glance, it'll tell you what your status is for different agents. When you first start, you would select the general view, and then you can have multiple projects going at once. Let's say you have a children's book and a novel, and you want them both to be represented. Well, you can start a different project for each one. And then you would have a different set of agents because different agents would represent different genres. And this I found absolutely fascinating. It tells you the percentage of query rejections by each agent. And you can look at that. They're very high. They're all about 90%. So you figure every agent is going to turn down 90% of the people that approach them. And that comes back, I think, to the content. It comes back to us having a project that is going to catch an agent's eye, something that is unique, that is something that is marketable, something that people are going to want to read. If you've got something like that, you're far more likely to get published than if you just have the next book that's like everybody else's book. Here you can go to the individual agents and look at their web pages. And You get to view the forms that are on the agent's website, and I'll show you more about that in just a second. So here's what I do for myself. I create a spreadsheet where I put in the agents and the agencies that I've contacted. I've got to keep track. So this is the way that's easiest for me to keep track. I just do an Excel spreadsheet, and this is what I put in: the name of the agent, the email of the agent, the date I submitted, the status, what agency that agent is with, and what their website is. So I can go in and um, see at a glance what the status. You can see my status here and all these rejections. That's actually what you want to see, and we'll get more into that when CJ takes over. So what is happening now is agents will send you, some of them will send you a list of what they want. This particular agency, they sent out a form and they said, here's what we want from you. And so I produced this document, and then I exported it as a PDF, and I sent it to the agency. One of the things they wanted was a chapter by chapter explanation of what every chapter was about. And so I did that. This was for my memoir. They wanted a marketing plan. So I sent them a flyer that I had made. They wanted a couple of chapters. So this is the couple of chapters right here, these 2 chapters. And they want to know why your book is unique, what's your marketing plan. All these things are going to ask you about. So it's good to have at least a basic sense of what you're going to be doing with this. All right, and that leads us to CJ. So CJ, I am going to let you take over.
I cannot see this. What does this say?
Oh yeah, mine's in the way too.
Okay.
Rejection, I call it rejection reframers.
Rejection reframers. Okay. So what we are going to be introducing, which I just realized I didn't get in the Inkslinger, so I might just be sending an email out. So everybody keep an eye out for the email, and it'll be in Inkslingers coming up. Um, what if failure isn't what's keeping you from success? We saw Mike just showed us a bunch of tools on how to be successful, and the Writers Club is amazing at giving us these tools, right? To where we can utilize them and we keep pushing. But what if, and we keep failing? Not all of us, some of us do though, right? We just aren't hitting that success of the big money that we think we're going to hit as an author. But what if the failure isn't what's keeping us from success? What if it's a relationship with failure that's holding us back? So, what we've decided is to create with the Writers Club a rejection tree. So, this is going to be an opportunity for you guys to plant a rejection tree in the High Desert Writers Club Writers Grove. There's going to be a form for you to fill out, and we're going to track our rejections and grow our rejection tree. So, let me tell you a little bit about it. This isn't just a question that I've asked myself, but a question that countless people, successful people, have asked themselves. From Einstein, rejection was he was labeled a slow learner. Walt Disney said he had a lack of imagination. Michael Jordan missed over 9,000 free throws. And Dr. Seuss was completely rejected for his work, right? So, what if we could take those types of rejections and turn them into something absolutely amazing? So, that's the goal here, is to take our rejections and use them as seeds to plant into something amazing. So what this is going to do is can you do the next slide?
I can.
Thank you. There's going to be levels for the rejection tree. So each level is going to be a path that we grow. So as you submit to your query tracker or you submit poems, whatever it is, you're going to be able to submit on a form that you'll have a link to a form that you could submit to me, and you're going to have certain questions. So each one of these, each rejection is going to grow your rejection tree in our writer's grove. And as it grows, it's going to just grow your determination to winning. So the first award, and it's going to give you recognition in the Inkslinger, is going to be the Desert Walker Road with 20 plus growth points for your rejection tree. And it's inspired by Dune. Dune received 23 rejections before it was published. Walking forward, even when the path is uncertain, you've begun to show up and face the unknown. The next level is when you've hit 25 growth points, which is the Time Weaver. That's when you've hit the Time Weaver Award, inspired by A Wrinkle in Time. With it had 26 rejections. Trusting your voice beyond doubt, you're beginning to believe that your storm matters. The next level is 30 plus growth points for your rejection tree, and this is when you start really going. This is your fire starter, inspired by Carrie. Rising through rejection and owning your power, you continue despite the resistance. The next level is going to be the truth teller with 60 plus growth points, inspired by The Help, that had 60 rejections before it was published. Speaking stories that matter. Your voice is expanding with purpose and with courage. Then we're going to even go further, and the Soul Gatherer is going to be 100 plus growth points, inspired by Chicken Soup for the Soul, with 144 rejections before it was published. Offering your work as nourishment, you write from the heart, connection, and dedication. And then for those who keep going despite everything else, the Root Keepers with 200 plus growth points, inspired by Roots, which received over 200 rejections before it was published. Deeply committed and unwavering. Your writing is grounded in purpose. You continue because it's a part of who you are. Each stage reflects not how many times you've been told no, but how many times you've kept going. So on the form, you'll be able to fill it out. You'll be able to have a part where you post something that you learned through that, or just different things you're going to be able to post on there. You'll also be able to post if you've accepted. And then I will be handing out a certificate, not handing out, but I'll be emailing you a certificate. So you can just add that to your own award system and say, look at how far I've gone. Look at what I've done. If you have received rejections up to this point, put them all in. As soon as you get the email with the form, do each one. Do one, then the other, then the other, and the other. However many rejections you've received already. I'm expecting that we're going to have a kind of a landslide in the beginning because we're just starting this. So you know you've had certain rejections. Put them in now. And then I'm going to start putting those in the ink slinger and giving shout outs to people. So just know that you don't have to do this. You don't have to plant your tree in the rejection grove or in the writer's grove if you don't want to, your rejection tree. But if you do want to have this little bit of extra encouragement as you're writing, then I'm excited about it. It's a tool that I'm excited to start using for myself as well, to just start pushing forward. So I welcome you to join our Writers Grove and start planting your rejection tree today. So if anyone has any questions, let me know and we'll just get going with it.
So notice what it says here. Rejection is not failure, because that's, I think, what holds us back. We
Yeah,
don't want to feel that rejection, that failure. But rejection slips from agents or from publishers is not failure. It's just evidence that we're doing the work. Because if we
it
don't get
is.
rejected, that means we're not submitting.
right? And
Everybody gets rejection. Yeah.
every rejection is like, oh, look at that. That means I'm submitting. And that wasn't my fit. So often we think, you know, that then I'm not going to be successful. But do we really want the wrong agent to pick us up? Or do we want to keep going till the right agent picks us up, right? Like just keep going. And I think if with I am in a writing group I'm in, somebody had posted today and said, I want to do a self-help book. Should I? And there were so many posts that were like, no, there's so many, you shouldn't even try. Like some there were negatives in there. And I was like, if you have a story in you you need to tell, whether it's self-help or not, you must tell it. You must tell it. It will make you crazy if you don't. So by all means, tell it. So keep going and keep sharing that. So I'm excited about this. I was looking for another writers club close to me, which there's not, just to have a little camaraderie.
Mm.
And but I did find another club that does have something similar. And I was like, oh, I'm going to create something for us because I think this is an amazing idea and I'm very excited by it. So I hope everybody's excited by it as well.
So the culmination of this is go submit something.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
that's what your next step is. Your next step is to go submit something. Get out there. Um, take a
start
chance.
collect start collecting those rejections and start growing your rejection tree in our writer's grove.
Yeah. All right. So if everybody will unmute themselves, and again, please put your email in the chat, and I will make sure you get the presentation sent to you. So any questions on what we've talked about? Oh, come on, you guys.
No, but Mike, I do have a comment on what CJ just indicated. You never know the one individual that whose life you literally may or may not be exaggerating, but you may be saving by virtue of the book that you've written. You know, a lot of people may say, well, there's so many already that are writing about this particular subject, but there's one individual that you just might strike by virtue of that book that you got published, whose life you may have depended upon that book. So, yeah, absolutely.
And there's no greater success than the journey. First of all, the journey it's going to take you on is an amazing success. And then if it touches any lives at all in a positive way, that is beyond success, just
Yeah.
beyond success. And so like we have so much to I don't know, it's just such an amazing gift to be a writer.
If I could comment on what Ray said, at the we did the Ignite the High Desert a couple of weeks ago, and I spoke on retirement. That was my topic.
Yeah.
And I did my presentation and everything, and we finished the evening, and I was getting ready to leave, and this gentleman walks up to me and okay, somebody needs to mute. um, anyway, this gentleman comes up to me and he was so intense, and he's from the San Diego area, retired veteran. Um, but he was telling me how much the presentation meant to him and how he had struggled through his retirement. And it blew me away. It really did. It blew me away to feel like, wow, this really did make a difference to this guy. And then about 3 days later, I was one of the car dealerships up here, and this gentleman one of the workers there walked up to me and said, "Oh, you're that guy. You're that guy that talked the other night about retirement." And he went on about how much it meant to him. And I thought, okay, we just don't realize the difference we can make with people. Anita, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Um, okay. You talked a lot about how to get an agent, um, but why? We still have to do a whole lot of hard work. Why
Oh
do we
yeah,
want to get an agent?
and that's a personal choice. There are people who prefer to be traditionally published. There's people that prefer to be self-published. And you're right. You actually, in some cases, you make more money when you're self-published than you would if you're traditionally published, because they take a bigger cut, and then you also have an agent that takes a cut. It's really just a personal preference. And
Okay,
go ahead.
so what you're saying is if you want to be traditionally published, that's where an agent can help you.
Yeah, right,
Okay.
exactly. If you don't want to, or if it's not something you're interested in, that's fine too. Um, like I said, this gentleman that I met, David Putnam, he wants to be traditionally published. That's important to him. So that's all that he does. And there's different perks. If you are traditionally published, then you're far more likely to be in, like I met him in Barnes and Noble. His books are all in Barnes and Noble, books that are like in Target and places like that. Um, these are generally traditionally published books. They have more outlets for distribution, but it's totally a choice. What I'd like to see is us at least try to penetrate that aspect of writing, and be able to say that yes, I've tried both sides of the coin. I don't want us all just to get stuck in self-publishing and not even try to do traditional publishing. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned, like yourself, you've had two agents, and the author Putnam had six agents. And I'm curious, obviously, you've got with an agent, so something started, something seemed positive. What exactly happens where you break up, or I don't know if you have a contract, but do you just don't hear from them, or what? Do they tell you why that it's not working out? What would that, situation?
That's a great question. I can only speak in my own situation. My first agent, he wanted to take my work in a direction that would completely ruin the story. I had written a story about a normal person who is faced with abnormal circumstances and has to rise to them. And he wanted me to change the whole thing around and have my main character be this Navy SEAL kind of guy that, could do everything. And it just wasn't my character. And so we butted heads a little bit, and he finally said, okay, I don't want to work with you anymore. That's fine. The second agency, I was with the Gloria Stern agency in New York, and they were excited, and I was excited, and I thought this is going to be great. And then 9/11 happened, and their agency collapsed. And I was last hired, so I was first fired. So I lost that agency. So things,
Right. So
sometimes life happens. Yeah.
the first one was a disagreement on content, and the second situation was just they collapsed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions, you guys? This is your time. Go ahead, Harry.
Harry, you're muted.
Harry, you're still muted. We can't hear you.
Audio.
You got it.
I think I got it now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can
Yes.
hear you.
All right. The remark about it being a personal choice whether you have an agent or not, I don't have personal experience of that. I've done all self-publishing, but uh, a little story because a certain book appeared on Amazon oh, quite a few years ago. It was called The Martian by an unknown guy called Andy Weir, and it was free to download. And I got a notice that I better download it because it's not going to be free on Amazon anymore. A publisher had picked it up. And how did he get there? He crowdsourced his editing, if you can believe it. He put it out there for lots of people to look at, and he took their suggestions and he improved the book. And it just shows that there's more than one path to success. Now, how many of us are going to be Andy Weir? Well,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. There are more than one ways. When I was in college, I was doing a lot of theater, and I went back to my high school. They asked me to do the musical, to direct the musical for the high school. And I looked for scripts, and I found this wonderful script that I really liked. And I contacted the people. I got permission to do it, but they said, "Well, we have to let you know it's provisional because um, we are talking with people in Hollywood, and it may be picked up. And if it's picked up, then we can't let you do the play." The play was Grease.
oh, John Travolta.
So it was picked up. We were not allowed to do the play. I had blocked it all out and everything. I had it all ready to go, and they said we couldn't do it. So um, things happen, and you never know which direction things are going to go.
I do want to make it clear that the Writers Grove rejection tree is not for agent, not just for agent or
Oh,
publisher rejections. It can be if you're submitting a poem to a magazine or whatever as long as you are actively submitting your work, if it gets picked up, you can let me know as well. But if it gets rejected, that's when we're planting those seeds in our rejection tree to just change our perspective with rejection. So whether you're submitting it to a magazine, submitting it to anything, your work.
How about for contests?
Yes, for contests, for
Hmm.
anything. I just think it's important that we actively are submitting work. And it can be for any piece of work, not repeatedly the same piece of work. It can be, I've submitted 20 different poems or whatever it is, I just keep pushing and keep going forward is the idea, is to just encourage that consistent going forward with our writers. So, and even after you get picked up, if you get another rejection somewhere else, put it in.
Yeah, keep adding them up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's just proof that you're doing the work. Go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
Ray.
I was going to ask CJ if she could share just a little bit more on this rejection tree. This is something a little foreign, a little new for me. I, bottom line, I just hadn't heard about it.
Well,
Well, you
this
got
is the
This is
first time. Yeah.
we're just introducing it today. This is the first time we're introducing it. So, um, you're going to get a link to a form you can fill out, and the form is going to have a list of questions on it. And the questions are going to be your email, your pen name, whether you're submitting a rejection, a growth point, or an acceptance, which would be a bloom on your tree, the date of your rejection, where your work was submitted to, the time your piece is submitted, just acknowledging that that this is going to go into the ink slinger, that there's going to be something about this going into the ink slinger. And then anything you'd like to share about your experience with this publishing. So then when you hit the first mark, which is the 20 rejection points, which then you would get the Desert Walker certificate. I'll email you the Desert Walker certificate. And in the ink slinger, it'll just be like our Desert Walker Award winners and then I'll list whoever's earned the Desert Walker having received the 20 growth points for the rejection tree. And we'll list those in the ink slinger, or the time weaver, whoever's received a new award that month by submitting the information to me. and then you'll receive the certificate. I'll email you the certificate. And then if you email me something you've learned about the experience, I might do a write-up about it, or, that will give me more content to write a little bit about the process in the ink slinger, about how we're pushing through the endurance and what we're pushing through and how it's going. So the biggest thing, it's important to know that, yes, this is big and we're pushing towards something, showing that, yes, we're pushing towards, but also that this is going in the ink slinger. So if you don't want that, your rejection points in the ink slinger, don't send it to me. But if you want encouragement to keep going and you want to acknowledge that, yeah, look at how hard I've pushed and I'm still going, then send them to me. And we'll keep going. We'll just keep going together. We're going to plant this writer's grove together.
So sometimes it pays off to be rejected.
Exactly. That's what this is. It always pays off to be rejected, right? Because it gets you on the right path.
Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And sorry.
All right.
Can we, did it just, sorry, Mira, go ahead.
Oh, no. Your question is better, I'm sure. And I just want to know, was Alex Haley's Roots rejected 200 times?
Yes, over 200 times.
Okay. Sorry, Lorelai. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I was just going to ask on these rejection notices, does it have to be from now on, or can we go back and pull?
Oh, go back and pull. Go back and pull. That's why I was saying, like, I'm expecting to get quite a few. So if you can fill out this form, go back and fill out the form as many times as rejections as you have. I'm expecting to be getting quite a few in, and so maybe we'll start our Writers Grove in May. Like, I'll have enough in that by May we'll have our Writers Grove started. We'll see.
And it's a psychological thing too.
It is.
I love Richard Spencer's books, and knowing that he is rejected might say to me, okay, that's just par for the course. It's something that's normal. It's not that I'm a bad writer, which is why I'm being rejected. It's just the way it is. And until you find the right key to the right door, you just keep trying to put the key in every door you find until you finally find the right situation, the home that you want for your work.
It's kind of like when I go thrifting and I look at all the books on the thrift store, and I used to have this like sad, like, oh, I'm going to walk through someday and see one of my books on the thrift store shelf. That's going to make me so sad. But then every time I walk through and I see books and I see like amazing authors on the thrift store shelf. I picked up Bird by Bird today for $3.
Oh, excellent.
I was like, yes, I'm so excited. So like you see these amazing authors on the thrift store shelf, and then you're like, actually, this is my book having a second life. It's went through one person already, and it's got another life, and it's going to go to somebody who may not have been able to afford it otherwise. And like, maybe it was rejected or just passed on. And I'm like, that's kind of exciting. It's kind of exciting. So
yeah.
It's just having a different relationship with it.
Okay, folks, time for one more question if anybody has a question. And if not, then I'm going to thank you all for coming. I really want to encourage you to just start thinking about submitting. Like I said, whether it's an article, a book, get your name out there. Get your work out there.
And I'm teaching Act 2 next month, right?
That's right. You sure
so
are.
come back for Act 2 next month, because I'll be teaching Act 2. I'm very excited. So.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, Patrick, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, just a quick question. What qualifications is needed to become an agent? Because they're the buffer zone between the authors or would-be authors and the publishers. And what obviously, so many famous authors, so many famous pieces of work have been rejected multiple times. Mm-hmm. What's the qualifications of these agents, and sounds like it's just timing.
Well,
Seems like they're morons.
generally an agent is usually somebody that majored in English or literature in school. They are, a lot of them are writers themselves. They get jobs at agencies and they learn the process over time, and that gets them on their feet. They start making connections with lots of publishers. Again, it's all relationship. It's
Yeah,
all
it is
relationship.
middleman networking. I
They
understand.
network. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how
It's
it works.
the
Yeah.
better they network, the better the agent they are.
Most of the agents haven't written multiple novels or pieces, right? Maybe
Hmm.
one or something. And just curious because it is kind of
Right.
And hopefully don't have previous scars from previous rejections themselves and are to how to vent on new would-be writers.
Well, I've found most agents that I've dealt with are very nice people. They will treat you with respect. They understand, again, they've been in this game for a long time, and they understand that, you know, it, we're all human beings when it comes down to it.
making money on an ongoing basis in that type of
Right.
business. Whereas at this
It's
end, you could be working for years without any income. So
That's
it's
right.
yeah.
That's right. All right, folks. Thank you again for coming, and I'll make sure I send out the PowerPoint to everybody who's here.
Okay. Good night.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Good night.
Have a good night.